The chocolate cake hit the table with a soft thud as my mother's words sliced through the dining room. I wish you were never born. The fork I'd been holding clattered against fine china, sending vibrations through my fingertips. Around me, my family erupted in laughter, Dad wiping tears from his eyes, Jessica covering her mouth in mock scandal, Amanda beaming with pride at her punchline. The cake before me, store-bought, unlike my sister's homemade birthday creations, blurred as something shifted inside me. 32 years of invisibility crystallized into perfect clarity. My smile remained fixed, muscles working on autopilot while my stomach twisted into knots. Well, Amanda, I said, my voice unnervingly steady, the feeling is mutual. The only difference is I actually have the power to make that wish come true. The room went silent. Not ordinary silence, the kind that feels like glass shattering in slow motion. Eyes widened. Smiles froze. For once, they actually saw me. My name is Natalie. I'm 32 and a high school English teacher. This is the story of how I disappeared from my family's life and watched their perfect world collapse in my absence. I grew up as the forgotten middle daughter, Jessica the golden child, Amanda the treasured artist, and me, Natalie, the invisible glue. At 10, I won a district writing competition. Mom barely glanced at the certificate before turning to Jessica's science project. At least this might get her a scholarship, she said, as if my achievement was merely decorative. When I was 12, I taught myself piano and auditioned for the school choir. That same week, Amanda's finger paintings were proudly displayed on the refrigerator while my solo performance went unacknowledged. You have a nice hobby, Dad remarked absently, patting my shoulder while his eyes remained fixed on the baseball game. The pattern followed me through life like a shadow. Jessica's law school graduation warranted a catered party with personalized decorations. Amanda's first gallery showing, featuring splattered canvases she'd created during her third attempt at college, prompted Mom to rent a limousine. My master's degree in education earned a card 3 days late with my name misspelled. By adulthood, my role had calcified. I was the one who remembered birthdays, arrived early to help with dinner, mediated fights, and listened to everyone's problems. I carried their emotional baggage while no one bothered to ask about mine. That fateful dinner was supposed to celebrate Jessica's promotion to senior partner. Mom had polished her heirloom china, the smell of lasagna filling the house as we gathered around the table. Dad beamed with pride before we'd even taken our seats. Jessica dominated conversation with stories about courtroom victories and plans for a vacation home. Amanda scrolled through her phone, showing everyone abstract paintings that prompted exaggerated praise as if they were hanging in the Louvre. When my turn came, I mentioned a student who had won a prestigious writing competition, a child I'd mentored for months, staying late after school, editing drafts, building confidence. "Oh, that's nice, honey," Mom said distractedly, already turning away. "Jess, tell us more about that big case you won." The dismissal stung but wasn't surprising. I forced a smile and faded into the background, a skill perfected over decades. Jessica's accomplishments were headlines, Amanda's hobbies were sacred art, my achievements were footnotes no one bothered to read. After dinner, the wine glasses refilled. Dad raised a toast to Jessica, his voice cracking with pride. Amanda added theatrical commentary, making everyone laugh. I sat quietly, tracing circles on my plate with my fork, wondering why I'd come at all. When Mom's chocolate cake arrived, frosted to perfection, the stories started flowing. Jessica and Amanda recounted childhood pranks, convincing me I was adopted, locking me in the basement, hiding my homework before tests. Poor Natalie, Mom chuckled, so gullible. Dad laughed so hard he nearly choked on his wine. I maintained my practiced smile while something inside me fractured. These weren't harmless memories. They were reminders of cruelty disguised as sibling rivalry. Every laugh at my expense hammered home a truth I'd spent my life avoiding. I had always been the family's punchline. That's when Amanda leaned forward, eyes glinting with mischief, and delivered the line that would change everything. "I wish you were never born." The laughter that followed confirmed what I had always suspected. This wasn't family bonding, it was ritual humiliation. And I had participated in my own erasure for 3 decades. Back in my apartment that night, I replayed every memory with merciless clarity. The whispered lies when I was 7 that I was found on the doorstep. The way my sisters smirked when I cried myself to sleep. My mother's dismissive shrug, my father's complicit silence. No one had ever defended me. I thought about high school, my essays ignored while Jessica's debate trophies filled custom shelves. Amanda's mediocre paintings hung in ornate frames while my teaching award gathered dust in a drawer. And then I thought about that night. Their roaring laughter. My mother wiping tears of amusement from her eyes. My father's casual "kids will be kids" even though we were all adults. Something inside me didn't break, it awakened. I would never matter to them. Not as a teacher, not as a daughter, not as a person. And if I stayed in their orbit, I would die invisible in their shadow. I closed my eyes and made the only vow that mattered: I would not be their target again. I would not sit at their table pretending cruelty tasted like love. I would disappear, not in defeat, but in power. Not running away, but walking forward. If Amanda wished I was never born, I would grant a version of that wish. I would remove myself from their lives entirely. The silence in my apartment felt different now. It wasn't emptiness, it was possibility. A chance to live without begging for scraps of approval. That night, I opened my laptop and searched for teaching positions in Portland, Seattle, Denver, cities far enough away to eliminate casual visits. By morning, applications were sent. I drafted an email to change my phone number. Each click felt like freedom. Every decision was proof. I was preparing to vanish from their world not as a victim, but as an architect of my own liberation. 3 weeks after that dinner, the calls began. First my mother, then Jessica, even Amanda, leaving voicemails full of artificial concern. I watched my phone illuminate on the kitchen counter, their voices spilling into my apartment. Natalie, we are worried. Natalie, don't be childish. Natalie, call us back. I deleted each message without finishing them. Every click was a boundary I controlled. For once, I wasn't the one begging for attention, they were. Then came the knocks on my apartment door. I sat inside, perfectly still, as my mother's voice filtered through. Sweetheart, please just open up. The irony wasn't lost on me. She had laughed when Amanda wished I'd never existed. Now she was crying in my hallway, demanding access to the daughter she'd spent a lifetime erasing. But I had already decided. The Natalie they knew was gone. By the 6th week, I was physically gone too. Movers carried boxes while I watched from the window. Portland awaited me with possibilities. A new school, new colleagues who shook my hand with genuine respect, students who smiled as if my presence mattered. It startled me at first, to be valued without comparison, to be seen without qualification. No one in my family knew my location. I'd changed my number, redirected my mail, closed social media accounts. Their messages hit dead ends. Their concern turned to desperation, their desperation to silence. For the first time, they felt my absence. No mediator at holiday dinners. No listener for their endless monologues. No Natalie smoothing conflicts with quiet patience. The glue had vanished, and without it, everything began to come apart. I heard about it through distant connections, an old neighbor, a cousin's cautious email. Jessica and Amanda were fighting constantly. Without me as their common target, they turned on each other. Dad had developed health problems. Mom had started therapy. Vindication didn't arrive as celebration. It came as peace, sitting in my new apartment, books stacked by the window, sunlight streaming across hardwood floors. I sipped tea that once tasted like loneliness but now carried the flavor of freedom. When my father finally tracked down the school's number, the secretary relayed his message: "She's our glue. Please tell her we miss her." But I wasn't glue anymore. I was stone. I had built a life they couldn't touch, a life where their laughter no longer echoed, a life where Amanda's wish had backfired because she got exactly what she wanted, a world without me. And without me, their world was collapsing. Years passed. Silence became my sanctuary. I built a career that made a difference. I formed friendships that nourished rather than depleted me. I created a life stitched with choice instead of obligation. In Portland, I wasn't invisible. I wasn't the forgotten middle child. I was Natalie, teacher, mentor, friend. A woman valued for her voice. And that was enough. I met Gabriel at a bookstore during a poetry reading. He asked about the novel in my hands, and we argued playfully about the ending. Somehow that argument blossomed into love. With him, I was never compared or minimized. He listened when I spoke. He celebrated my smallest victories as if they were monumental achievements. Our wedding was intimate but joyful. My hiking friends stood beside me. His family welcomed me as their own. There were no cruel jokes, only warmth and laughter that healed instead of wounded. Sometimes I thought about my mother's letters, the apologies, the recognition that arrived too late. I didn't hate her anymore, but I didn't owe her access to my peace. Forgiveness and reconciliation aren't the same thing. When our daughter was born, I named her Hope because she would never wonder if she belonged. She would never doubt her worth. Her life would begin in abundance, not scarcity. Looking at her, I finally understood my journey. Amanda's cruel wish had been intended as a curse, but I had transformed it into a blessing. They lost me, but I found myself. And that was the real victory. So if you've ever been dismissed, minimized, or erased, remember this: you are not invisible. You are not disposable. You are more powerful than their laughter. Sometimes walking away is the loudest answer of all. Sometimes absence is the sharpest revenge. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button so others might find it too. Share your experience in the comments. Sometimes knowing you're not alone is the first step toward reclaiming your power. And subscribe for more conversations about family dynamics and the strength it takes to rewrite your own ending.